Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. A big shout out to everyone over at the TFR Live chat room. That's tfrlive.com/chat. Big shout out to you all over there. Big shout out to everyone listening on the website. Remember, tell people on social media, if you've still got access to your social media, about the network, about the show, and let's take it to the next level. Yes, that's a story for another time, my social media adventures. What can I say? But today we're here with Nanogirl. And Nano, before we launch into some more absolutely riveting conversation, I'm kind of excited because the next time you come on the show, I've taken a little bit of the burden off you, a bit of the onus off you. And not only that, but we're going to get into some of our favourite types of topics, right? And it's not just going to be me and you, so let the audience know what we've got planned.
We're going to be joined by a very special guest, Jules, and she's one of the wonderful listeners for the Kev Baker Show. And it was her idea. She thought it might be interesting to put a list together of all our favorite sci-fi alien shows. We're going to focus on TV and movies about the aliens, like and one of my favorites is Alien Nation. And we're going to do a review of them, and especially from the point of view of programming. Like I started thinking back on Alien Nation, and there is so much pre-programming for what's going on right now. It's not funny.
Well, let me ask you, Nano. Let me ask you, right? Because this is something I wrestle with all the time.
Yeah.
What do you put the kind of ratio between deliberately things being put into shows, into scripts, or weigh that against somebody creative coming up with a storyline, and unbeknown to them, they're picking up on what they think's imagination and a fictional tale, but really, we talk about the Akashic Records, consciousness. So how much do you, what can you weigh at? 50-50? Do you think it's more kind of shenanigans, or do you think I'm way off the mark?
No. That's a very interesting question, because Matt from Quantum Consciousness brings that up all the time, constantly. And he said, well, I guess his thing is there's this giant sort of AI thing that sort of influences people, and then it sort of inserts itself in all these different places. I kind of liken it to maybe the precognition of you just sort of tap into something you want to write about. And case in point, someone you guys may not know too much about is Nora Roberts. She's a famous writer. She's a sci-fi writer, and she does trilogy. She does really interesting people. Sometimes she has fairies. Sometimes she just does regular family trilogies and stuff. Well, long story short, and I know I talked about this while I was reading her trilogy, and it was all about what happened when a disease wiped out 80% of the people on the planet Earth. And then what happened, and how they had to fight the dark forces, and the light came in, and there was this big political surge, but there was this big negative surge. Now, my friend and I were talking about Nora Roberts this weekend, and we said, gee, how do you figure Nora Roberts knew about that? She actually wrote it a year or two before COVID. And I thought, how did you know this? How did you know to write this? And what about Dean Koontz when he wrote about this like 20, 30 years ago? I think people that are really good writers and inventors and software developers, and probably people that develop games, you sort of tap into a consciousness. We're all connected. Since there is no such thing as time, really, there's just consciousness. Why wouldn't you have access to this information? And why wouldn't you be able to sort of drop it into your creativity, your artwork, your books, your music, whatever? Because I can't imagine that somebody on high.
You know,
I don't know.
I don't know how to weigh it up either, because we can definitely go back to the, not the swinging 60s, but the psyop 60s, and we can see
Yeah,
the whole Lookout Mountain where they were filming
right.
movies, and we see programs like Stargate, right? I love Stargate, always will. Any
Yes.
chance I get, I go back. Any SG1, it'll be on. And I always smile, because there used to be that kind of thing where they would thank the Department of Defense. And I always used to think when I was younger, even when I was in the army and things, I used to think, I'm telling you, they're hiding things in a show like that. So I think they definitely do it on occasion,
Yeah.
encourage storylines to maybe include some things or others.
Like X-Files or
Yeah,
Fringe,
big
right?
time, big time.
J.J. Abrams is probably connected to those idiots,
And at the same time,
X-File guy, Chris Carter.
yeah, at the same time, I also think there's that element where you're talking about creative people who
Hmm.
are able to tap into that creativity, and it's not to
Yeah.
take anything away from their creativity just because I'm saying they're plucking it out of the ether. In fact, it probably makes them a little bit more special for the way they're doing it.
Well,
Um,
I don't think we created any other way, Kev. That's exactly what that's for. I mean, I always felt like, have you ever noticed that when something gets invented, 5 or 10 or 20 people invent it all at the exact same time?
yep.
Why is that? It's because the idea or the time for it to be invented has arrived. And if you're lucky enough, you get to do it. That's why I said when I saw Steve Jobs, he had the light. He was connected to the light. And when I say the light, he was connected to that higher process, that ether, where he could bring down what needed to come out at that moment in time. And that's, to me, when you talk about Henry Ford or him or all these other amazing inventors, I think they tapped into something that had been downloaded, maybe by our higher selves or spiritual connection or somewhere, or we had decided we were all ready for it, and they're the ones who brought it forward, like Elon Musk.
Yeah, I even look at somebody like Da Vinci that way as well.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. So it was time for that to come forward, and Da Vinci was the one who did it. It could have been Sam Smith or Gina, Lola Brigida, who's an actress, but it was him.
You know what it shows me, though? You look at some of Da Vinci's sketches, and they look very much like submarines, helicopters,
Yeah,
things that really didn't even, pardon the pun, take off back in his day. That
right.
tells me, again, that hints to me that the timelessness
Yeah.
of
Yeah,
the
there's no
universe.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, because
There's no time.
those
Hmm.
ideas were still present and able to be tapped into back in Da Vinci's day. But it took until
Right.
hundreds of years later for us to tap back into them when we had the technology, and for whatever reason it took off more when it came round in the industrial type age. It's a fascinating way of looking at things. And then the other day, I was really intrigued by a show called Debris, and you'd put me onto it. Another couple of people had put me onto it, and I was absolutely enthralled by this. This was one of the best things I've seen since Fringe. It had every kind of fringy element to it, and one of the main writers was from the team on Fringe.
Oh, I
But
didn't know that.
yeah, but I was, well, to say I was devastated might actually be an understatement. They cancelled it after the first season. Now, I don't know about you, Nano, and this is just the way my mind works. It means nothing in reality, but it always makes me think, after one season, that feels like it was almost like out there, and then we're pulling it away again. What do you think?
I agree. Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I keep thinking about the movie John Carter, that Disney spent a tremendous amount of money on that movie. And man, if you miss the last 10 minutes of that movie, that is our reality. You have that shape shifting being who explained to John Carter who they are. They're our current powers that be, what they do, that they're there all the time. They're constantly creating conflict. It's what they do, and it's how they constantly mess with humankind. And as he was talking, he just shapeshifted in all these other characters. And I was absolutely blown away. And Disney barely advertised it, shoved it out the door, and then it sort of disappeared somewhere. And if you watch the first part of the movie and you don't stick it out, you're going to miss the best part of what reality really is. So I couldn't agree with you more. As to Debris, I find it really interesting timing because it is about alien, some ship blew up, right? It's about an alien ship that blew outside the Earth's atmosphere, and all of the debris falls down. And if you get a piece of it, it changes your life, not necessarily for the better, but it affects it. And it affects you, and it affects the people around you, and it has a consciousness. And it's actually a pretty good show. It takes a little while to get into it. So if you start watching it, you got to get past. It's one of those ones you have to get past the third episode to really get into it.
Now, there's a bit of time travel comes into that in a couple of the episodes. So now, without giving too many spoilers away, I know you're a fan of.
That was pretty fat.
Well,
that was fantastic.
Yeah, what did you think? I thought it was superb the way they done it.
Well, yeah, because again, they were trying to change something.
Yep.
An event. So somebody started this circle of time travel, and they kept trying to repeat it so they could fix it so it would go back the way it was before they broke it.
It never quite worked
and the more
out
they
like
did
that.
it, the more it got broken.
Yeah. And the more it got broken, the more you try and fix it, the worse it gets. I thought it was brilliant. But
it was kind of like that movie, The Butterfly Effect, right? It's like he finally stopped, and he just had to let it go. He had to, and the same thing happened with that TV series Flash. He kept trying to change. He got into a loop.
Yep.
And he kept trying to change his life, and he realized he was actually creating new realities.
That's another show. Was that not another show that disappeared? No, I'm thinking of Flash Forward. Sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
Flash Forward was about a year. Yeah, that was another really good show. Flash is on actually had like 6 seasons, I think, 5 or 6 seasons. I lost track of it after about the 3rd or 4th season.
Yeah, same here. Anne used to watch it even beyond that after I'd stopped.
Oh, okay.
But I thought it was a good show. I did think it was a good show.
Yeah, it was very, very good. But yeah, and I think the thing about Debris is the timing because of all the UFO stuff, right? It's kind of like, well, and the big conversations about, are they a threat and are they not a threat, and should we see them as a threat, and or what are we going to hear this month, which I personally think we're not going to hear anything, but that's okay. So
listen, I need to apologize to somebody listening right now. Poor Nancy. She made the mistake of asking me last night, so Kev, what's going on with these UAPs? Oh, well, I never. And of course, I've not spoken to Nancy in a while, so that let me, I was rattling on, and I'm listening to myself, and I'm thinking, Kev, A, slow down, and B, shut up. Give the poor woman a minute to breathe. You just told her that, like, the truth embargo might be getting lifted, but no, I'm like Nano. I'm optimistic, only because it's going to be fun to see what direction this all goes. And there's going to be a lot of content for me to make in the next couple of weeks. So it's all good. All good.
Yeah, I mean, for shows and putting things together, it's going to be great. I think if you don't put your heart into it, you won't get it broken. You know what I mean? Like, I think I'm not going to put anything into it from the perspective of I think I'm going to get something out of it. Because why would they tell us the truth at this point? They're not. Especially this crew. The crew that's sitting there now. The puppet crew, the puppet show over there. Oh my God. I don't think they'd know the truth if they tripped over it. So, no.
Nano, it's always been a puppet show.
Well, it's more of a puppet show than it's ever been a puppet show. I mean, this is the puppet show of all puppet shows, in my opinion.
Then thank them. Thank them, because from this point forward, you'll always see it as the puppet show it is.
Oh, God, it's so crippling to watch. But yeah, no, in fact, I don't watch it anymore as much as I possibly can.
Exactly. It's like the worst reality TV show in the world.
Oh, my God. It's really... Well, that's the thing. It's not reality.
Yep.
Well, I guess reality TV isn't really reality TV
Exactly.
either.
Exactly. No, it's all scripted.
Well, I don't watch reality TV.
We're all living in a simulation anyway. Who cares?
I know.
It's all good at this point. But Nano, listen. Wow. 45 minutes in. and we've barely even touched on your topic today, and
Oh,
what
that's
we're going to be
okay.
getting
No, actually,
into.
we are touching on it
Oh.
because if you go to slide 4,
Now, for people out there in the audience, all you have to do is go to kevbakershow.com/nanogirl. You can read along with us, or you can go and look at these anytime after the show. But like I say, Nano's called this Time to Come Out of the Spiritual Closet. And we'll go on to slides number 1. Yes, indeed. There we go, Nano.
we're going to go to slide number 4.
I knew that. There we go. Number 4.
You knew. Okay. So, because we were talking about UFOs anyway, and I do feel like this is kind of an interesting conversation watching what's going to happen with Luis Elizondo. Is that his name? Luis Elizondo? And all of the players up till now. And then they're going to have this particular report that they're supposed to drop on us. And how much does the Pentagon play in this? And are they a threat? And all that stuff. So I don't know. But there was something that happened here with our buddy Dr. Stephen Greer. I found, now, when I went to my first or second UFO conference in 2001, Kev, this was after 9/11, obviously, right? It was the weekend after 9/11. And I think Dr. Greer was at that particular event. He got a standing ovation. And the reason he got a standing ovation, if you go to slide number 7, he actually had a press conference on May 10th, 2001, where he introduced amazing amount of witnesses about UFOs. And he presented this as a huge press conference because he wanted to change the color of this. He wanted to change the tone of this for people to start to take it seriously. And I just thought it was ironic that this was 20 years later? And you did your report last week talking about Dr. Greer. And he's now from his view, of course, he thinks they're all friendly, right? That's his view, right? I think he believes every one of them's friendly. I'm not in the Dr. Greer box, but I will hand it to him for his thing was called the Disclosure Project. And he was at least trying to get this information out.
And Nano, we must never forget that is where the Kev Baker Show's most used and favourite clip comes from. The last card. The last card will be the alien threat. Yes, Dr. Carol Rosen. Yep.
Right. And so you had someone like Bosley go out this weekend talking about, yes, of course, the military is going to look at this as a threat. It's how the military operates. It's what they're there for. They're there to protect America. So that was his stand. I know Dark Journalist has had a number of shows this last week or two about UFOs and disclosure. And so he's talked a lot about the players and what's going on and exposing them for what's been going on through the CIA and through the Pentagon. I think he's interested to see what comes up of this presentation in June as well. So everybody's kind of weighed in. But I just kind of, sorry about the phone.
It's the Pentagon. It's Luis Elizondo. Nanogirl, stop it.
It is the Pentagon. Sorry.
Nano, it's the Pentagon. Stop. Don't go any further. Don't tell them.
It is.
I know. Sorry.
It's those pesky blue chickens. Isn't
it's
it?
the CIA. It's we hear you.
Yeah.
We hear you speaking.
Yeah.
So anyway, this was also the one where I met Jim Mars. And Jim Mars wrote his book. And it was really good. I can't believe they're calling back. Well,
that's
anyway.
the Pentagon for you,
Sorry, everybody.
Come on, A-Tip. She's not available right now. Come on, man.
I know. Come on, stop ringing.
That's that Joe Biden phoning up. Hey, Nano girl, come on, man.
If I lift it up and turn it off, it'll just ring again. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting. Again, say what you will about him. I do think he worked hard to try to get this information out there. And
I've
I didn't even know who he was.
yeah, I got listen when I was watching his latest update. I got a sense of his nose been a little bit out of joint because, like you say, he's been somebody that's been working on this for like tirelessly for 20 years, and I know he's got his critics.
Yeah.
I can take or leave Stephen Greer. I like his documentaries he's made. I'm like you.
Yeah.
I'm not in the camp where it's all love and light and they're all nice out there. I don't
Mhm.
know. You know, we can't even get on amongst our own species. You get good and bad. So I don't know. I think that's a bit ridiculous. And hey, listen, even if he was in contact with them, you know, no potential enemy is going to turn around and say, "Yeah, we're real bad guys, Stephen. You know, we've got bad intentions." So, I'm interested, but only as an observer. Like you say, I've not got no dog in
Yeah.
the fight. I'm not telling people this is the truth we've been waiting for. And Bosley makes a
Right.
good point because this is possibly a generational thing because a lot of people, even myself included, have said this is like never happened before in our lifetimes. Or maybe not in my lifetime, but Project Blue Book back in the day. You know, it's not totally new that the Pentagon or military come out and talk about these things. And it's going to be a declassified document. So anything we do see, it's probably going to be more of what we've been seeing in the build up to this. And it's what come next. That's what interests me, Nano. Because once this starts the conversation, then
Yeah.
what direction do they take it? And I'm sure there'll be a big budget request for the Space Force so they can protect us from the Anunnaki when they come back for their gold.
Well, and yeah, and I think Cliff brought up a very good point. Cliff has also had some interesting shows in the last 2 weeks. You know, the military and the CIA don't want to spend any more money on the secrecy stuff. It's very expensive. And he feels like this is a way for them to stop doing that. They don't have to do it anymore. Like it's this quote unquote secret's out. The secret's out without telling you the secret. They don't have to cover it up anymore. And it's been very, very expensive. So there's a lot of goodies that they are going to get out of this. And, you know, we'll see.
Well,
We'll see
we
if they
both
even
like-
throw us a nugget.
We both like Star Trek, right?
Yeah.
I was having this conversation with Nancy last night, actually. And I've always wondered, you know, and I've always believed we do get towards a Star Trek type future where we're out
Yeah.
there. But then it's caused me to pause and think, well, if we look at that, albeit a fictional story, we don't really get much of the prequels, the build up to the Federation. You know how the world changed from being the way we know it to the way it is in Star Trek, and maybe we're living through the first acts, the first kind of chapters of what will eventually be looked back upon as being the start of our space age, the start of sci-fi world, stuff like that. Maybe we're about to get these new propulsion systems that they've kept hidden away for so long. Maybe they'll sell us they'll spin us a yarn about how they've back engineered it, or some experts looked at it and now look what we've got. We can do this. So I hope it plays into. I hope it plays into my sci-fi vision of the future, Nano. I see how to look for the positives in everything nowadays.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you look at what's happening in space, you know, even China's landed on Mars, right? They
Yeah,
have
that's right. Yeah.
and they're on the backside of the moon. And then you've got Russia, you've got the space station. And so I agree with you. I think I personally think one of the most exciting positive things we're doing to me is what's happening with Elon Musk and SpaceX and all of the travels we're
Yeah, you
doing.
look
And I
at
hope
that.
that doesn't stop.
You look at that, Nano. When we first started doing the shows, I mean, SpaceX was really still getting up off the ground.
Mhm.
Pardon the pun.
It was actually pretty much falling down all the time.
And now we're living in a world where there's that many SpaceX missions going on. It's hard to keep up to date, and I like to watch their liftoffs, even on mundane Starlink launches and stuff like that. But they're going
Yeah.
up and down all the time now, just the
They
way
are.
Musk envisaged, you know.
Well, and I heard from a colleague today that they're planning 2 trips to the moon, which would be great in 2022. It's about time. For goodness sakes, it's about time. Well, I'm sure personally, I think they're already there. I think they're already in Mars. I think they're already in Moon. I think we're a lot further along than they've told us. And I think they're going to commercialize it. I think we're going to see where we're going to be able to take trips up there. And hopefully in our lifetime, it'll be inexpensive enough that we can actually go visit the moon. That's something I think would be very cool for us Star Trek people who started watching it when we were very, very young. Because I've always thought that that would be the ultimate for me, regardless of how old I am, is to go visit the moon, or at least take the trip around it.
Oh.
Be in a spaceship and take a trip
Whoa,
around
now
it.
you're
Wouldn't that be
talking, now.
amazing?
Oh, now you're talking. Yep.
Yep. And
Ye-
I just think that that would be amazing.
Now, if
It's
you
just
get a
amazing.
chance, please check out For All Mankind. It was an Apple TV show, but some of the CGI for on the moon, orbiting the moon, it's jaw dropping. It's about as close as we're gonna get until we get there. But we'll be back after these messages. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to hour number 2 of today's brilliant show. I'm loving this today. I'm so glad I took a day off yesterday. Feeling really, really great from the minute I got up today. Looking forward to the show, and it doesn't disappoint. We've still got 1 hour to go, and I've got Nanogirl here with me. And of course, Nano, you were tuned into some of the shows last week. So many highlights from last week. I don't know where to start. But did you like the shows last week? UFOs, woo, we had everything, right?
I mean, you had Mary was on last week,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Mary, then you had The Experiencer, and you had all of the other shows that
We
you
had
were on.
Jack Carey with his unified theory, or unified field theory of paranormal
Yep.
activity. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the one that really touched me deeply was the woman who was the experiencer, right? When she had that, she's coming out talking about it very bravely, and how it touched her, and she also sensed that it was alive, like the ship itself was alive. It reminded me of the one from Babylon 5. Do you remember the one species that their ship was actually alive? I think it was the Vorlons. Your DNA was used to build the ship. So when you had a ship, it was alive. That the spaceship didn't go with anybody else. That they would build it just for you because it was made out of your DNA, and it responded to you. And I was just thinking, wow, she had that experience. And I don't understand why they shot it down, and that they knew it was coming. Okay, first of all, how did they know it was coming? Right? Because the helicopters started showing up 2 days before the event, right? Didn't she say that?
Yeah, and we call it the AWACS, basically electronic warfare type plane with a whole
Right.
heap of equipment in it that, even with the clearance that I had when I was in the military at the time, you'd think signals would know what's in that, not half of the kit. And that was back in the 90s. So goodness knows what kind of sensors and infrared and a whole host of things we probably don't know about. Were they looking for some magnetic anomaly to hint that there was a portal going to be opening? Sounded like an ambush to me, Nano. One of the most compelling stories that not enough people know about, you know?
I had never heard of it. And okay, so a couple of things that fascinated me was, one, how they knew it was coming days in advance. They knew 2 days in advance, which to me still speaks to a lot of the tech that we've seen on some of these sci-fi shows, where they've either got access to the future, or they've got some view of something, or they've been there before and they're doing it again. You know what I mean? Like this timeline is repeating, and so they know when things are going to happen. I don't know. And then the where it touched her, it actually kind of zoomed some energy or light into her, and she said it turned her hair white. And but she felt wonderful. It was this wonderful feeling of love.
Oh boy, there's
Which
the Pentagon
I
again.
know.
Or it's Stephen Greer.
Oh my gosh.
You know, I think Kaz, the experience that Kaz had, you could almost say it was almost like quasi-religious. And we talked about Stephen Greer before the break, and it sounded to me like whatever Kaz experienced were in line with the type of aliens that Stephen Greer talks about. Because,
Yes.
yeah, very, very non-threatening. Again, very much. Again, I would encourage people to go and watch that TV show, all one season of Debris. Yes, I tell you, I don't know, but it's a heck of a story, and I've got an update for people. There's going to be a new witness coming forward to talk about this in the near future, and that's all I know so far. And I can guarantee everyone out there, when I know more, you'll know more. And myself and Ben Emlyn Jones have agreed that we're going to do our part every time we come on air to at least give an update of what's going on with Penta, to keep Kaz and Gaz in the public eye. Because I tell you, Nano, looking into this for a show, I was taken aback by how little information and how far down the search engine I had to go to get into arguably the most important UFO story. Whether people believe it or not, it's still one of the biggest ones to happen in the UK, in my opinion, since Rendlesham, you know?
Well, her voice reminded me a lot of Travis Walton, because I heard him tell his story live. And I remember thinking at the time, you know, he was actually at a small bookstore in Mountain View here in the Bay Area, you know, years ago. And it was so compelling. I know I've talked about this on your show before. It was so quiet in that room, you could have heard a pin drop. People, like, it was so believable. And he, you know, there's a tone of voice you get. You're not trying to sell it. You're just trying to tell it. And it's very different. And I remember thinking, listening to him, it's like he's either the best liar I've ever heard, or this guy's telling the truth. And there was just everything in me telling me he was telling the truth. And she had the same tone of voice, and she came off the same way.
It's
and
funny
she said, look.
funny you mentioned that, because I'd picked up on that, but you just put it into words. There's a sincerity, a genuine recall of something that she lived through going on.
Yeah, and I think it resonates to your body. Like, it just...
Like, I just got the goosebumps when I said it, because I was thinking back to it, you know?
Yeah, there's this tone that goes with your goes into your body, and you're not resisting it. You're listening, right? Because it is incredible, and you know, many of us have not had that experience, and we don't know. But here's my big question, and I know that you didn't have time to get into this. You could have talked to them for probably 5 more hours. Why did they kill them? Why did they shoot them down? Why? They seem like nice people. Why? And the other thing that comes to mind is another Star Trek, is where are the aliens that run us don't want them here, right? In other words, these were good guys, and they're trying to get the message through, hey, you guys are really just slaves on this planet. You need to wake up, and we're willing to risk our life and limb here to come warn you. And that our people here are like, oh, no, you don't. This is our planet. These are our slaves. Don't mess with them. And that's what comes to mind. And is that the true story of what's going on with us right now? Is that why this whole UFO thingy is a giant secret?
Well, let me put this to you then, because you're talking about stepping out of the spiritual closet. You know, I've listened to a lot of information over the years, and some would call it probably love and light and new agey, but you know, what if we are about to evolve onto a new level of consciousness? You know, conspiracy theory time, obviously.
Yeah.
But say they know what's around the corner, they being the powers that shouldn't be.
The Illuminati. Oh, wrong one.
The Illuminati.
See, I gave away that I've got the Illuminati on speed dial there now. Oh no. But what if some of, again, pure conspiracy, it's purely infotainment purposes here, very liberal with facts and stringing them together. But what if they tried to come up with a way of countering a spiritual evolution by, I don't know, getting us onto new types of medications that could eventually network us into some kind of alternative consciousness or a technological grid or somewhere that puts an anchor on us going out of our craniums to the universe. You're nodding, but is it more sci-fi or what do you think? I mean,
No, I mean that was my biggest question that I would have liked to have gotten into with her. She's probably had plenty of time to think about it. Why did the creepy people in the helicopters shoot down somebody? So and the fact that they sent her this love and I mean, they didn't have to do that. They didn't have to send her that, but they did. And that was the best way they could communicate. They didn't even have to speak her language or our language. They just sent her a vibration of love, which is universal. And that's not something she got from the helicopter crew, right? And, what's his face? Whitley Strieber said something one time. I know I've said this on your show before. When we embrace the aliens or whatever you want to call them into our reality is going to shift. That's going to be a big thing. And so wherever you stand with Whitley, it doesn't matter. I think that comment makes a huge amount of sense. And so if we go back to your guest, that was the thing that was the most disturbing thing she talked about. And I spent a lot of time thinking about it after the show. And so who's really the guardians of this planet? And are they really then, as you said, using any kind of artificial means that they can? But Kev, I think at the end of the day, it's not going to work. Nothing's going to work. Again, light the sparkler, put it in the paper bag. All you're going to do is light the paper bag on fire. That's what you're going to get at the end of the day. I think they're going to try. I think that they will want us to be their slaves. They've taken over the planet, whoever they are.
It's been said by many people, and I agree, that we're all here at this time exactly right now, this moment in history, in the stream of time. And people have said, we all kind of chose to be here to witness something really special. And I can think to the shows with our Australian friends and going back tens of thousands of years to ancient alien battles over a planet that was already under the custodianship of reptilian beings. And like you say, I mean, who really owns this part of the galaxy now? That might sound way out there, but, we're so restricted to thinking about geopolitics, globalists. I'm thinking about exopolitics and like domains of space and stuff like that. And somebody said, well, how would they know what's coming? Sentient world simulation and 24/7 data that's been soaked back. And the more data they have, the better and clearer a prediction they can make of the future. It's feasible. I'm not saying it's definite, but it's feasible that they've been looking 6 months, a year ahead and taking measures and moves to try and counter things, to try and encourage things, to try and steer the timeline.
Well, they have access to many beings on this planet, like the Vatican, have access to information we'll never get to see. So they have access to all the historical information. They already, I think all of our species repeats itself over and over and over and over again, right? So we go through these, we've been on the planet probably for a lot longer than we think. And history tends to repeat itself. So you tend to do things over and over, it's just how us beings are. There probably was Atlantis. There probably was these other civilizations, and like the guy said on John Carter, we've always been here. We mess with you guys. We cause conflict. That's how we keep control. Is we make sure that you are at each other's throats, that you are constantly fighting and warring, so you don't come after us, and we get to continue to run this place. And so at the end of the day, it really is about us awakening. And can you imagine if like 20 of us had been standing there and we'd had this experience from this being, and they sent this kind of love and feeling to us? I can't imagine it. And it was certainly make sense that that's why we're here, is to actually witness and feel that kind of transition. Because saying that now and adding that now is what makes the most sense about being here now.